Today, we're going to break down a condition that affects millions, and a lot of the time, it does it silently. We're going to count down the 10 critical warning signs of heart failure that your body might be sending you. We'll unpack what they actually mean, and most importantly, discover what you can do about it.
So let's just jump right in with this quote from our source, Dr. Sten Egberg, because wow, this really sets the stage. It hits home, right? The body is always sending us messages. Some are whispers, some are shouts, but so often we just ignore them. Our whole goal today is to finally learn how to listen.
So first things first, and this is super important to get. Heart failure isn't some sudden, dramatic event. It's more like the final chapter in a very long story. The end result of a lot of smaller problems that have been quietly chipping away at the heart's strength for a long, long time.
Okay, this slide is key because it clears up a massive misconception. Heart failure is not a heart attack. A heart attack, that's an acute crisis, boom, a sudden blockage and heart muscle actually starts to die. But chronic heart failure, what we're talking about today, that's a slow burn. It's a progressive weakening of the heart's ability to do its job. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
All right, so to really get what's going wrong, we've got to first understand how this whole thing is supposed to work. Just think of your heart as the most important engine in your entire body.
Yeah, at its core, no pun intended, the heart is just this brilliantly designed pump. Its entire job is to keep the fluid moving. It pushes that fresh, oxygen-rich blood out to all your organs, and then it brings the used, oxygen-poor blood back to the lungs to get a refill. Simple as that.
And here it is, the whole journey in 4 simple steps. And you're going to want to pay close attention to this flow, because honestly, it explains every single sign we're about to talk about. Used blood comes into the right side, gets shot over to the lungs for oxygen, comes back fresh into the left side, and then that powerful left side muscle pumps it out to the whole body.
So now we get to the warnings, and you'll see how this builds. See, the problems almost always kick off on one side of the heart, and it's usually the left side. This right here is the first domino to fall.
But why the left side? Well, it really just comes down to simple mechanics. The left ventricle, it's got the toughest job in the whole operation. It has to squeeze hard enough to push blood through your entire body, from your brain all the way down to your toes. And because it's working so much harder, it's the first part to wear out and show signs of strain. And here's the thing about these early signs. They can be incredibly subtle. Let's count them out. Number 1, shortness of breath, especially when you're doing something simple like climbing the stairs. Number 2 is a deep, just bone-tired fatigue, and number 3 is a related feeling of just weakness. Then comes number 4, a rapid or irregular heartbeat as your heart tries to make up for being inefficient. Number 5 is a nagging cough or wheezing. And number 6, a sudden, weird weight gain, like 2 to 5 pounds in just a couple of days. So many of us just write this stuff off as, oh, I'm just getting older, or I'm out of shape. But what's really happening is if that left side can't pump blood out, the blood has to go somewhere. It starts to back up.
And that backup, well, that leads to the terrifying reality behind the shortness of breath and the coughing. That fluid backs up into the only place it can really go, right into your lungs. This is called pulmonary edema. Your lungs literally start filling with fluid, which makes it impossible to get enough oxygen. This analogy is powerful, and it's scary, but it's spot on. It feels like you're drowning on dry land.
But here's the kicker. The problem doesn't just stay put on the left side. No, that initial failure kicks off a chain reaction, a domino effect, that starts to mess with the entire system.
Just think about it for a second. With the lungs all bogged down and full of fluid, it's like trying to pump water through a totally clogged pipe. The right side of the heart, whose only job is to push blood into the lungs, is now pushing against this huge wall of resistance. This is called pulmonary hypertension, and over time, all that extra strain just wears out the right side and it starts to fail too. And this slide, wow, this really puts that difference in workload into perspective. Just look at those numbers. The left ventricle is used to pushing against a pressure of, around 120/80. The right side, a tiny fraction of that, just 25/10. The right side of the heart simply isn't built for high pressure. And that's exactly why that fluid backup from the left is so devastating for it. So what happens when the right side starts to give out? Well, it's the same deal, a big backup. But this time, the fluid backs up into the rest of your body. And that leads to our next set of signs. Picking up with number 7, swelling, what doctors call edema, in your legs, ankles, and feet, because gravity is pulling all that extra fluid down. Number 8 is a swollen or tender belly. Number 9 is a big one, having to get up to pee all the time at night. That's because when you finally lie down flat, all that fluid in your legs can get back into your circulation, and your kidneys go into overtime trying to get rid of it.
And that brings us to number 10, having trouble breathing when you lie flat, for that exact same reason.
All right, so we've gone through all 10 signs, we get the mechanics behind it, but the real question is, what's actually causing the heart to get weak in the first place? You know, what's pushing that very first domino?
And what's so powerful when you look at this is that the biggest culprits, they're things we can actually do something about. High blood pressure is the #1 cause, hands down. It just forces that left ventricle to work way too hard for years until it just gives out. But look at the other big ones. Insulin resistance, obesity, smoking. These are all heavily influenced by our lifestyle.
And you've got to understand, these things aren't happening in a vacuum. They're all connected in this dangerous web. Insulin resistance, for instance, is a major cause of high blood pressure, and it's super closely linked to heart attacks. So the good news is, by fixing one, you're often helping to fix a bunch of others. It's a systems problem, which means it needs a systems solution.
Which brings us to, honestly, the most important part of this whole thing. Knowing the signs is great, but preventing the problem from ever starting, that's the real game changer. So let's look at the blueprint for taking back control. The framework here from Dr. Ekberg is actually beautifully simple and holistic. Eat better, move better, and feel better. It's not about finding one magic pill. It's about looking at your chemical health with food, your mechanical health with movement, and your emotional health with your mindset.
So let's get practical. Here's the action plan. For eating better, the biggest things you can do are cut way back on sugar, industrial seed oils, and all that processed junk. Focus on real whole foods. For moving better, you have to get this. Movement is not optional. It is essential. It's not about becoming a marathon runner. It's just about walking, taking the stairs, constant daily motion. And finally, feel better. This is about making a shift from letting life happen to you to becoming the driver of your own emotional state.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Your body is constantly talking to you. It's sending you messages through all these signs and symptoms. They aren't just random annoyances, they're vital information. So the real question is, are you ready to finally start listening?